Imagine the money it takes to buy a business where the customers are already lined up before you even open the doors. Now imagine finding out that before McDonald's will let you anywhere near that lineup, they run you through a process that looks less like a franchise sale and more like a background investigation. A phone interview, personality and ability testing, a background and credit check, days spent actually working a shift inside a restaurant while you're quietly observed, then panel interviews, one of them at headquarters, and somewhere in the middle of all that, your roughly $2 million just sits in a bank account, waiting to be allowed in. That's the ticket price, and it's separate from the investment itself. And here's the number that explains this whole empire. McDonald's Corporation is worth more, on paper, than the entire GDP of Morocco, a nation of 38 million people. A burger company valued higher than a sovereign country, and it still makes the people who want to run its restaurants prove they're worthy of the privilege first. This isn't really a video about how many burgers McDonald's sells. It's a net worth analysis of who actually gets rich in that lineup out front, and the answer isn't always who you'd assume. Today, we're doing the math on the most famous franchise on earth. Let's start with what it actually takes to get the keys. The total investment runs $1.4 to $2.7 million, according to McDonald's own 2026 disclosure documents. A $45,000 franchise fee on top of build-out, equipment, and signage. And at least 40% of that whole number has to be your own liquid cash. Not financed, not leveraged against anything else, with McDonald's requiring at least $500,000 in unencumbered funds just to be considered in the first place. Even that money doesn't guarantee a contract. McDonald's own published path for US applicants runs 7 stages: an online application covering your finances and business background, a phone interview paired with personality and ability testing, a background and credit check, then several days actually working a shift inside a real restaurant while you're observed the entire time. From there, it's a panel interview, a final one-on-one at McDonald's headquarters, a full financial and asset verification, and a review of legal documents before you're even accepted into the training program itself, which combines another 6 to 12 months of practical and classroom work. Altogether, McDonald's own disclosure materials put the full timeline at up to a year and a half, and clearing every stage of it still doesn't guarantee a restaurant, because for every location that opens, there are usually more qualified applicants than there are keys to hand out. It's also worth noting the exact stages can shift by country. Some markets add steps like formal psychometric evaluations on top of what's outlined here, but the core idea holds everywhere McDonald's franchises. It plays out like a job interview, but underneath it's closer to a background investigation with a business plan attached. McDonald's isn't looking for entrepreneurs with a dream. It's looking for people who can survive financially even if the business doesn't work right away, and who'll follow 40 years of operational rules without pushing back on them, which is exactly why the terms of that rulebook are worth looking at. Harry Sonneborn, the financial architect behind McDonald's early growth, put it to Ray Kroc bluntly back in the 1950s, "You're not in the hamburger business, you're in the real estate business." Here's what that actually means in practice. McDonald's Corporation buys the land. McDonald's Corporation builds the restaurant. Then McDonald's Corporation leases it back to the franchisee, not at a fixed rent, but as a percentage of gross sales. So the better the restaurant performs, the more the owner owes their landlord, and that landlord also happens to own the brand name being rented and the marketing fund the owner is required to pay into. The royalty runs 4 to 5% of everything sold. The marketing fund takes another 4% minimum. Combined with rent, roughly 14 to 18% of every dollar that hits the register leaves the building before a single employee gets paid or a single potato gets bought. It isn't just a franchise fee, it's a permanent silent partner written directly into the lease. So let's actually run the numbers, line by line, on the average US McDonald's. About $4 million a year in gross sales, the highest average volume of any burger chain in the country. Food and packaging eat 30%. That's $1.2 million gone straight to McDonald's approved suppliers. Labor for a 50 to 60 person crew takes another 28 to 30%, call it 1.1 million. Rent, royalty, and marketing to corporate run 14 to 18%, $560,000 to $720,000, and remember, that number climbs the better the restaurant does. Utilities, insurance, technology fees, and equipment repairs take another 6 to 8% on top of that. Add it all up, and what's left for the person who put up the $1 million plus in cash, worked the unpaid year, and signed the personal guarantee comes out to somewhere between 8 and 13%, $300,000 to $500,000 a year. That's a genuinely excellent income. It just isn't a passive one. It's an 80-hour-a-week job with a boss who also happens to be your landlord. And if minimum wage goes up in your state, or inflation causes beef prices to spike, that $350,000 is the number that absorbs it, not McDonald's. And some of them have had enough. In January 2026, the National Owners Association, an independent group representing thousands of McDonald's franchisees, published a 15-point franchisee Bill of Rights. Near the top of the list was the right to set their own menu prices without fear of recourse from corporate, as they put it. It came after years of tightened renewal standards, new pricing mandates, and a growing sense among owners that they'd stopped being partners and started being tenants. For some franchisees, that tension went well past a strongly worded letter. In 2021, Herbert Washington, a former Major League Baseball player who built one of the largest black-owned McDonald's operations in the country, filed a federal civil rights lawsuit, claiming McDonald's had spent decades steering black franchisees like him into lower volume, harder to operate neighborhoods, then pressured him to sell off locations after he spoke out about it. His case, alongside a separate lawsuit from dozens of other former black franchisees, was eventually settled. Underneath the mascot, it's a two-tier system. The same contract, the same fees, the same landlord, but not always the same opportunity to actually succeed inside it. So if one restaurant nets $350,000 a year on $2 million of risk, where's the real fortune in this system? It isn't in owning one, it's in owning 20. Multi-unit operators spread their fixed costs, accounting, regional management, supplier relationships across every additional location they add. 10 restaurants at $350,000 each isn't $3.5 million of extra stress, it's $3.5 million of cash flow run day to day by general managers while the owner manages the portfolio instead of the fryer. McDonald's isn't really chasing single-store owners anymore. It wants operators who can scale, because a bigger operator is simply a more efficient collector of that same 18%, spread across more locations. So here's where this actually lands, and it was never really a story about the McRib. For the franchisee, it's a $1 to $3 million personal bet on their own labor, inside a lease built so the landlord gets paid first no matter what. For the corporation, it's a portfolio of over 13,000 rent checks, requiring almost none of its own capital to keep growing. And that's what feeds a valuation bigger than entire nations. Here's the number that should actually stop you. Over the past 20 years, McDonald's Corporation stock has delivered a total return of roughly 700%. That same $2 million of franchisee risks on one restaurant, the unpaid year, the personal guarantee, the landlord who's also your boss, put into McDonald's stock 2 decades ago instead, would be worth somewhere around $15 million today. No hamburger university, no toilets, no fear of recourse. Imagine the money it takes to buy your way into a system built from the ground up to make sure the house collects first. Now imagine realizing the golden arches belong to the landlord and to the stock market the entire time. If this breakdown changed how you look at fast food finance, hit subscribe. We break down the math behind a new corporate empire every week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.